Have you ever heard of Singapore's reputation of being a fine city? Well, thought so. Well, aside from it being fine, it's also a real fine city. Because there's a whole lot of rules that you have to follow to avoid being fined. Hey, that rhymes! Now this is a popular one. It's probably the first thing that pops up whenever you Google what not to do in Singapore. But I think it's very commonly misunderstood. So chewing gum itself is not illegal in Singapore. It's only illegal if you import it and sell it, unless you're a licensed pharmacist or doctor and you're selling gum for medicinal purposes. The reason why gums are banned in Singapore is because of the improper disposal from irresponsible vandals. Now, we all know how sucky it is to step on a gum and how hard it is to remove it. So yes, it costs the nation massive amount of effort and also money to clean the public spaces, and therefore, chewing gum are banned. So yes, even if you're chewing gums for medicinal purposes, it's very important to dispose them properly. By the way, littering is also illegal in Singapore. You're gonna get fined up to 1,000 Sing dollar if caught. So here's the thing about smoking. It's not banned in Singapore, but it's not so convenient to be smoking in Singapore technically. There's a list of places whereby smoking is prohibited. And yes, so whenever you need a puff, you need to be sure that you're standing in the designated smoking area, just so you won't be fined. I will leave the link from NEA in the description so that you can find out more about where are the places that people are allowed to smoke. While smoking is still allowed in Singapore, vaping or any form of e-cigarette is completely banned in Singapore since the 1st of February 2018. In fact, just owning an e-cigarette is already against the law, so don't even talk about using it. Since we're on this, I kind of want to do a myth buster. Vaping is not a healthier alternative to smoking because it has its own sets of health risks. It's true that e-cigarette doesn't contain all the 7,000 toxins that a traditional cigarette would have. There are also other chemicals which is highly related to causing serious lung injury. So yes, smoking or vaping, both are not good for health. But we can make our own choices about what we want for our body and all. It's just that we need to be mindful that it doesn't break the law. So here are some of the drinking rules in Singapore. Basically, after 10:30 PM and all the way to 7 AM in the morning, nobody's allowed to drink in public places, unless you're drinking in a licensed pub or anywhere that has a special license to sell alcohol. If not, normal retailers won't be able to sell alcohol during their restricted timing as well. However, it's completely fine for you to be drinking at home anytime because it's not a public space. As long as the members of the public has no access to the place, you can have like a small drinking party at home anytime you want. So the best thing to do is invite all your friends to your house and get your booze earlier in the day. Okay, we get it. What else is banned? Well, actually, there is still quite a few of them. But I shall not bore you with them because I think these are rather common things to any civic-minded person. So let's get into some of those culturally unacceptable stuff in Singapore. Here's one that I think is rather common in many Asian culture, not particularly to Singapore. Take off your shoe before you enter someone's house. And sometimes in some household, you're probably required to wash your feet, or maybe they will offer you an in-house slipper before you walk around the place. The thing is, we see the inside of a house as a clean zone, and your shoes are considered as dirty. So whenever you're visiting someone, remember to take off your shoe when you're entering the house. Here's another tip for you when you're visiting a Singaporean friend. So when you go into their house and you met their parents or any elders in the family, do not address them by name because it will be considered as rude. So what you should do is say, "Hi uncle, hi auntie." Yeah, I know you guys are not related, but this is how we show respect to elder people. By elders, I mean like maybe if you're in your 20s and the person you're addressing is in his 50s, you really shouldn't be calling him just by name because it's considered as very rude in Asian culture. So when you're on an escalator, stand on your left and walk on your right. If you're busy, walk up the escalator on your right side. If not, just stand on the left and leave the right path for busy commuters. Now, similar to many Asian countries, tipping is not expected in Singapore. I mean, it's not like you cannot tip, it's just a bit weird to do so. Yeah, because most of the restaurants in Singapore would have a 7% GST and a 10% service charge, and it's all charged in your overall bill. So generally, tipping is not expected. Unless you see a tip bottle at the cashier and maybe they say that they don't charge your GST or something like this, there's where you can tip freely. Something to note is that do not tip in a hawker center. I don't think it will be frowned upon, but I guess you will probably get something like, "Huh? Yeah, no need." Oh boy, now that's a lot of things you can't do. But don't worry, because of the demographic in Singapore, the locals are very understanding and they can respect cultural differences very well. So if they find you doing something weird, they probably just politely explain to you what to do the next time. But the only thing you have to be careful of is don't break the law. And I guess that's all for today. Bye!